Good evening to all of our viewers on PCR YouTube and PCR Facebook. My name is Beverly D'Souza and I am a student of the PCR batch 2020-2022. Welcoming everybody to this event, to our show. PCR now presents yet another show alongside the Guidance Cell at Chembur, Mumbai under the initiative of RISE. RISE stands for Reassuring Impactful Sociable Emancipation. Today's topic, we will be highlighting the idea of mental health. Let's talk about healthy living. This is a topic that has been spoken by numerous personalities, whether in the field of sports or celebrities. However, initially this was not the case, and it was often put under the carpet. This has now received a lot of momentum recently and requires voicing adequately. So we have today with us our expert, Dr. Sheryl John Senthilnathan ma'am, who will be representing, who is from the field of psychiatry and will be throwing some light on this topic of importance. We welcome you, ma'am. We are more than thrilled to have you with us. Now, to brief our viewers a little bit about Dr. Sheryl ma'am. Dr. Sheryl ma'am has numerous feathers to her cap. She is currently a consultant at LH Hiranandani Hospital, Powai, a consultant at Holy Spirit Hospital in Dheri, and an honorary assistant at Rajawadi Hospital. In the past, she has even held a position of an organizing committee member of the annual National Conference for Private Psychiatry. And she is also an executive committee member of St. Luke's Catholic Medical Guild and has held a brief stint as a secretary at the Bombay Psychiatry Society. Her qualification boasts of a third rank in her MD exams from the University of Mumbai. Additionally, she also holds the second rank in her DIP exams from the College of Physicians and Surgeons, and she managed to clear all of her MBBS exams in the first attempt. She also has a galore of publications to her credit, some of which include A Case of Diffuse Lewy Body Diseases, a publication on psychiatric morbidity, and the list goes on. She has received multiple awards, one of which includes the title of the Best Resident Medical Officer. Lastly, but not the least, she also holds a profound interest in teaching medicine, occupational therapy, and psychology to undergraduate medical students. Besides this, her contribution in community service is rather noteworthy and only adds to another feather in her cap. We are truly fortunate, dear ma'am, to have you with us. With this being said, I now hand over the stage to you.
Thank you so much, Beverly, for the kind introduction. And thank you so much, Pillai College, for inviting me to interact with the students and deliver this talk on healthy living. If I could have my slides, please. If you just go full screen. Just wait for the slides to come up. Can you see the slides, Beverly?
Not at the moment, ma'am. I'm sure they'll come up.
Yes.
And there you are.
So when we talk about healthy living, it's extremely important to understand what do we mean by health, right? Is health uh, not being able, like not falling sick, uh, not meeting the doctor, not taking medications? Is that what we know as health? Can I have the next slide, please? So, health is not simply the absence of sickness. The next. So, WHO defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And this is an extremely important definition because when we, as you know, people not from the medical fraternity or as students or even as adults sometimes just think that, oh, I'm healthy because I don't have an illness, or I'm healthy if my physical body is fine. But what does WHO say? It says that you're healthy if you have definitely no physical ailments, but also your mental health or the health of your brain is extremely strong and you have a good social well being. So you're able to interact with your colleagues, you're able to have good relationships with your family, and that's what we call as healthy living. Next. So I would like to talk about Vikram. Vikram is a 19-year-old who came to my hospital with complaint of severe headache. So he had issues with sleep, he had blurred vision, he was not able to see very well. Uh, he had gone to meet my friend who is the eye doctor, the ophthalmologist, and she had checked him thoroughly and said, no, there is a little strain on the eye, but that can't really explain why is he having, the headache. When we try to probe that when did the problem start, and we realize the problem started from the onset of the lockdown. A few months after the lockdown, he started complaining of severe headache and other features. The next one, please. So we wonder what is happening, right? What is Bikram doing with a psychiatrist? He's having headache, he's having problems in his vision, and why is he meeting a brain doctor? Next. So this is an important aspect which has impacted Vikram's life, and I'm sure it impacts the lives of many students who are hearing this talk. Uh, as a practicing psychiatrist, I see a number of young boys and girls who visit me for various problems, and a common thread that I find in most of the stories is the problem with sleep. I mean, yesterday I met somebody and I was asking him, as part of my conversation with him, that, his name was John. I said, John, what time do you usually go to sleep? And he started smiling and he said, Doctor, if I tell you, you're going to get really angry because everybody at home really gets angry with me about my sleep. I said, no, tell me, what time do you actually go to sleep? And he's like, 2, sometimes 3. I'm like, why? What happens? Why are you awake till 2 and 3 in the morning? And he says, that's because I have a lot of things to do. I catch up on all my private conversations with my friends, or, I'm watching some series in the night because during the day I'm extremely busy doing, my routine activities. Next. And it's not just Vikram or John whom I met yesterday, but a number of us. And especially with the lockdown when we were at home, there has been such a change in our routine because we don't have to really wake up to go to college. So we can just, wake up, maybe not even brush our teeth, and just switch your laptop on, and there and behold, you're inside the class. Nobody needs to know that you have just woken up, from bed and you're attending class, but you've just woken up 2 minutes before the class. And there are various complications to these sleep issues. There are issues with your brain. So when you have sleep problems, you have risk of depression. You can develop anxiety, slowed reaction time. So that just means how dangerous that is. Is suppose you have to, when you're driving a car or you're riding your bike, your reaction time to a sudden stimulus is slowed. So that means more chances of accidents, lower performance, a poor immune system function. And I think COVID-19 has just emphasized on the aspect of how we need to have a very strong immunity. And sleep factors or lack of sleep causes problems with your immune system. You can have high blood pressure, you have risk of heart disease, risk of diabetes, and the list can just go on and on. What happens when you're not sleeping? Can I please go back to the previous slide? Yeah. So, what happens when you're not sleeping? Uh, when you're not sleeping, the brain is not restoring itself. It is during your sleep hours that the brain updates itself. Or how when you use your phone and you need to kind of download a new update or a new software update, you have to keep the phone on the charge or the power mode. It can't be, not charging and then it won't get updated. In the same way, if you're not sleeping, your brain is not restoring all its functions. So just working and working and working all the time, but no restoration happening, no regeneration happening. And when that does not happen, the brain thinks that you are in some kind of a danger, because I am supposed to relax, I'm supposed to repair all the damage which has happened during the day, but this young person is awake. So that means this person is in some kind of danger. And what does the brain do when you're in danger? It starts releasing all the stress hormones. And that's the reason why you have higher cortisol levels. You can develop heart disease or blood pressure, because the brain wrongly perceives that you are in danger because you're not sleeping. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So, how do we correct that? How do I correct my problematic sleep pattern? One is try to avoid, coffee, alcohol, aerated drinks, any stimulant at least 6 hours before bedtime. So make sure that after 6 in the evening, you're not having, coffee or tea. Avoid excessive binging on food in the night. Try to have a fixed time to wake up and a fixed time to get up. Switch off your gadgets at least half an hour before you go to bed. And important aspect is use your bed only for sleep. When you were going to college before the pandemic, you would wake up and leave and come back only in the evening. Now many of us are using our bed for all activities, whether we are eating our dinner there, we're watching our Netflix series there, we're chatting with our friends there, and we are sleeping on our bed. But the brain gets confused. It's not able to place what is the exact role of this situation, of this place. Is this bed for sleep? Is this bed to study? So try to avoid that. Try to use your bed only for sleep and not other activities. Try to avoid taking daytime naps if you're a person who suffers from sleep issues. You know, uh, Keep the bedroom dark. Try to kind of, shut off strong lights and blue lights. Next one. Next slide, please. This is a very, very common cause of why most of the young people are unable to sleep, because this is the time that they get to socialize with their friends via the online gaming world, isn't it? Next. And the most happiest when all these bans came up for the parents, right? Because they were like, oh God, thank God now there is a ban to PUBG or there is a ban to Fortnite. But that's not really helpful, is it? I mean, banning an online game is taking away autonomy from the young people. I'm sure that they're able to exercise discretion and understand when they're supposed to play and not. Next. So there are certain benefits of online gaming. And what are these benefits? So the benefits are that you are motivated. So just how when you're, your parents can tell you or an adult will tell you that, okay, we're going to allow you half an hour or 1 hour of game provided you finish this particular syllabus or you submit this project. So when you have the gaming time as a carrot dangling at the end of the stick, you're motivated to finish your work. When you play online games, there is an improvement in your hand-eye coordination. It also helps in developing memory, because when you play the game, you have to have quick thinking, quick decision making, concentrate on who's coming into your game, who's attacking you. These skills also improve when you are playing online games. Next. But too much of a good thing, you can just click, yeah. Too much of a good thing is really, I don't know. Is it good? Next. So it's like too much of a good thing is really not going to help us, right? There are certain negative consequences to online gaming too. Next slide, please. So when you do too much of any good thing, it's going to cause problems. Too much of online gaming will cause lack of time for important activities. So if you are going to spend 5 to 6 hours gaming, you're not going to find time to catch up on socializing with your friends in person. You're not going to find time to interact with your family. You're not going to find time to complete your projects. You have going to have sleep deprivation. This is exactly what Vikram had. Though he came to me with a history of headache and blurred vision, when we started probing, we realized it is actually because he was playing online games till 4 in the morning. When you are isolated and playing an online game, you get isolated from society. The pandemic has anyway isolated all of us, isn't it? There are so many rules and restrictions with the lockdown that we are not able to interact, not able to have a physical connect. And then, if you are kind of not socially engaging with people, but just staying in your game world, it's going to cause more issues. Aggression is seen to increase, addiction. So, when we are indulging in anything in an excessive manner, what happens? It stimulates the same pathways in your brain that alcohol or cocaine or brown sugar would stimulate. What does that mean? What does addiction mean? It means that you're not satisfied with a little. So, if you're playing for half an hour before and that gave you a lot of fun and thrill, half an hour no longer is enough. So you develop tolerance to the fun factor and you start kind of indulging it in more. If you are not given your online gaming time, then you may get aggressive or violent or feel extremely sad and depressed. So these are the features of when we say that when your online gaming is getting out of hand, causing a lot of issues. The next slide, please. Another aspect of the online world is social media. Now, there is one very unique feature in our brain. Our brain doesn't look at things only from your perspective. We're always comparing ourselves to other things or other people around us. And being on social media for extended periods of time is really not helping. Because when you're surfing an Insta story or on Facebook, uh, or you are seeing somebody being very active on Twitter, you always feel left out, or you feel, oh, that person is having these amazing stories. He's having such a great relationship. Look at the fun that they're having with the family. Look at the creativity that they are coming up with. Next slide, please. But we're not able to understand that though we are comparing ourselves constantly with others, there is a huge difference between the real and the real world. So whatever filters that we are using on Instagram, I remember when I was using Facebook, and there was these constant pop-ups telling me, how I should filter because I have an iPhone. You can use these amazing filters to make your face seem better, your eyes look more brighter. You don't have all these wrinkles on your face. So you're constantly changing what is real to show something which is very, very filtered, and that has a huge impact on all of us who are observing this. It has a huge impact on our mental health. What can we do? What do we do when we feel that this online world is getting the better of us? What you need to do is set up a fixed time to be in the online world, whether it's on your WhatsApp chats, whether it's on your Insta accounts, whether it's your online gaming that you're playing, Battlefield, or I know, whatever, Brawl Masters, I don't know the games, whatever games that you're playing. Try to have a fixed time and stick to it. In your home, incorporate or inculcate gadget free zones. So you and your family can decide that we are going to use the dining table only to have a meal. We're not going to bring the gadget into the dining table. So that's a gadget free zone. Or you can say my bedside is a gadget free zone. Each one can decide what is their important aspect or where they want to keep that as a gadget free zone. A very, very important place that can be gadget free zone is the washroom, because most of us spend such a long time in the washroom just because we are scrolling through our phones, right? Another thing that can help us to curb our use of gadgets is trying to say that we're not going to use a gadget half an hour before going to bed and half an hour after waking up. And it's not just young students, even we struggle with it. So when I used to wake up in the morning, the first thing I would do is grab my phone, put off the alarm, and look at all the WhatsApp messages that I have got. And if somebody would ask me, why are you doing that? I would say, no, 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 because my patients may have sent me messages in the evening. I have to check what is important and give 101 excuses of why I need to be with my phone. But nothing's going to change. I know that I am not indispensable. So I can be without my phone for about half an hour, isn't it? Set up timings to play online with your friends and stick to it. A very, very important aspect is digital detox. Can we go an entire day without using our social media accounts and playing? So, an absolute digital detox. Sometimes it's had a lot of people are observing Shravan, a lot of people observe Lent, a lot of religious festivals, like when you're observing Rosa. Can we say that along with the food that I'm going to give up, I'm going to give up using my social media account for half a day? That's how we will kind of restructure our brain cells to function better and take away the harmful effects of long term online use. Next slide, please. Food at our fingertips, isn't it? So we have all the top delivery apps. You just have to click, and Zomato delivers, Swiggy delivers, in the bargain, leading to a lot of eating disorders. So you have emotional eating, either you're binge eating or you're restricting yourself from eating, and food is becoming the focus of our lives in an unhealthy way. We need to shift to a healthy eating pattern. Next slide. So try to have a balanced meal. You can choose a cheat day where you are deciding, okay, one day in a week I'm going to cheat or I'm going to binge. But try to incorporate a balanced diet as much as you can. Next slide. Exercise. A very, very important aspect of healthy living. Because of the lockdown situation, and we can kind of exercise from home, you can join an online Zumba class, you can join an online dance class, you can get out of your home and start going for a walk or for a run, but try to incorporate at least 10 to 15 minutes of exercise every day in your lives. Next, we finished about Vikram and his sleep and other health issues. We come to Smita. Now, Smita is a final year student at the Mumbai college. She went to meet her family doctor as she could not understand what was happening to her. She was definitely not able to sleep, but she also felt that suddenly her heart would beat very, very fast. She felt as if her heart would pop out of her chest. She would sweat a lot of odd sensations in her hand and feet, and she almost felt like she was going to die. So she was really scared and she went and met her family doctor, and he asked her to do all the blood tests and examined her completely, and everything was normal. Next slide. So what's happening with Smita? Why is she coming up with all these physical symptoms as if she's going to have a heart attack? Next. Yes. What she was having is stress. And this is a very, very common term that all of us use, right? Such a loosely used term. अरे मुझे बहुत टेंशन है, मुझे बहुत स्ट्रेस है, तुम लोग को समझ में नहीं आता, my life is so stressful. Next. And it's very common for us to stress about stress before there's even stress to stress about, isn't it? Very commonly used word stress. Next. So what is this stress? Stress is a human reaction to events in our environment. So any change in your environment, your body is going to react to it, and that is what is perceived as stress. So is it all bad? Next. So there's something known as good stress. What does that mean? So any change, like I told you, any change the brain perceives as stress. So a good change, like getting into the college or getting into your dream job, getting into a relationship, you have been wanting to date somebody for a very long period of time, you've been crushing on him or her for a very long time, and then he or she says yes, or you're getting married or you're winning a competition. The body or the brain perceives that as stress, but that is good stress. Certain amount of stress is good to improve your performance. What is this good stress? This good stress is, suppose I have an exam tomorrow and I'm sitting and watching the latest series, there's a little sensation that comes in my tummy or a voice in my head telling me that Cheryl, get up and just go and revise your stuff. That is what is good stress, which propels us to perform better. It helps us to improve our performance. Because if that was not there, we would be very, very bored and we would become very, very complacent. Then why should we worry about stress, isn't it? Next, we should worry about distress. This is the stress which comes from bad sources. So it could be a difficult college or home environment. And I'm sure that online college is a difficult environment because you're only interacting with your teachers or your classmates via this screen in front of you. If you're multitasking, you're doing a lot of things, and many times students are studying as well as working part time jobs, or now they have to help out at homes because everybody is at home. And if they're unable to balance their time, that can be distress. When you have difficult personal relationships, you can experience stress. COVID 19, the barb of all the stressors, isn't it? So, that itself can cause uneasiness in our mental and physical health. Next. So, when we say, I'm feeling stressed, what does that mean? How do you know whether you are stressed or not? And these are some of the symptoms that you can experience. When you feel a dry mouth, you feel your hands and feet are becoming cold, a lot of sweating, you're breathing very hard, your heart rate is faster, you get a lot of pain in your muscles, butterflies in your stomach, you want to use the washroom again and again. If you look back, most of us will experience this just before a presentation, just before an exam. Next. But what we are most concerned about are not the short term symptoms, but the physical stress symptoms because of long term changes. When we start experiencing sleep disturbances, change in your appetite, so either you're binge eating or you're not eating at all. You have constant aches and pains, you have frequent colds, you're constantly feeling tired, and that itself can make you more susceptible to all kinds of illness. Next, the behavioral stress symptoms. What are the symptoms that we experience because of our brain getting affected by the stress in our environment? Anxiety. When I say anxiety, it means you're worried all the time. You become forgetful. So you keep something somewhere, you forget. You don't know whether you've sent the message to your friend or not. When you have depression is when you're feeling sad for a very long period of time. You feel that things that interested you before are no longer interesting you. You feel very hopeless and worthless. You become very, very angry, irritable. And again, like I told you, there are changes in your appetite. Next. So, do college students feel stress? And this was a study which was done that 30% students reported that stress had negatively impacted their performance. But 85%, it's such a huge number, 85% of college students said that they felt overwhelmed at some point in their life. I was recently talking to another college student. She was teaching my children physical activities. So she is also a fitness instructor. She's studying in college and she's herself doing a lot of other things. And I was asking her, how are you managing everything? And she said, Auntie, I do feel a little overwhelmed sometimes because there are so many things for me to do and I don't seem to find the time for it, isn't it? So, a lot of stressors are there. Next. So, let's look at the stressors in our lives. What are these factors which are leading us to feel stressed? Next. If each one of us who's listening to this talk, if you look at the stressful situations in your life, they will fall into any of these categories. You're either stressed because you're not able to manage your time better, and that leads to a lot of other problems, or you're stressed because you have a fear of exams, or you're stressed because of family and friends and issues in your relationships. Next, let's focus on time management. Next, how do I know that I'm not managing my time well? if you feel that you're constantly rushing, uncontrolled rushing, कि मुझे ये भी करना है, ये भी करना है, ये भी करना है, क्या करूँ, किस चीज़ से शुरू करूँ, कौन सा खत्म करूँ, मुझे समझ में नहीं आता, that definitely means that you are not managing your time better. Sometimes if you feel like extremely tired at the end of the day and somebody asks you कि क्या किया पूरा दिन, and you look back and say, अरे I've hardly achieved anything. I had a huge target to be done. I'm tired at the end of the day, but I have not actually had a lot of productive work. If you feel that you're constantly missing your deadlines, you don't have enough time to rest, you don't have enough time to give your friends or your family because you're all the time doing something. It's like a juggler juggling different balls in the air. When there is a sense of being overwhelmed, that means you're not managing your time well. What do we do? How do we manage our time better? Next slide. So, first thing that you need to do is do difficult things first. Whenever I ask college students or even school students, to make a timetable, please go back again. To go back to, to what is it that when they make a timetable or they make a framework for their day, uh, how do you make it? So usually most of us will try to, when you make a timetable or you make a structure for the day, is to try to finish all the things that you like pehle hi, because you or the things which are very easy before. And the logic applies that if I have 20 things, 10 things to do, 8 things can be done very quickly. There are 2 things which are going to take a long time. So I am going to keep it for the last. But that is a very, very bad rule in time management, because you will take such a long time to finish that 8 things, and then you have very limited time to finish 2 of the difficult stuff. So when you're trying to focus your attention on the difficult stuff, you don't have time, you feel rushed, and you make mistakes. So always, as a rule, try to do your difficult projects or difficult subjects first. Then the easy things become a very, a breeze to go through your easy things. The next one slide, please. Become an early riser. And even 10 minutes earlier will make a huge difference if you have to manage your time. And like I told you, when I talk to college students, they always tell me 8:30 college starts, 8:29 is when I wake up and just log in. When you do that, it may be okay for your class because teacher may not be able to see you because your video is switched off. But your brain is not able to comprehend this concept of just waking up and starting work. It needs a little time to get oriented to your environment. So if you're able to wake up even 10 minutes early, go brush your teeth, have your favorite cup of coffee, look outside the window, and then start your work, it makes a huge difference. Next, make lists in order of priority. And it's so easy now. We have your smartphone, you can just put in the notes how you make your list. It need not be a very, very firm timetable, but a timetable or a list helps you in forming a framework. When you see, I don't know, when you play Minecraft or you're building something, when you're playing Lego, what do? You form the foundation or the framework before you put everything else. So, a list or a timetable helps you in forming a framework for your day. Next, make a notebook, or you can use your notebook or the memo option on your cell phone for reminders. Sometimes you may really forget because you're doing so many things together, but if you have a reminder that pings you a day before your project, it'll make things easier for you. Next, important is to create an action plan, because a goal without a plan is just a wish, isn't it? So you can manage your time better if you have an action plan. Next, another stress that students feel is academic stressors, isn't it? Next, the word exam means stress. Next, where does this exam stress come from? Again, the pandemic has changed that, because now I think most of the colleges have open book exam and things like that. So the stress is less, but definitely you feel the stress, right? Next. And this exam stress comes from this word, right? Kitne marks mile? Everybody will ask you, kitna marks mila? Your neighboring uncle, the doodh wala bhaiya, anybody who knows that you have an exam will ask you, bete kitne marks mile? Isn't it? Your chacha who's in Delhi, chacha ka, bua ka, uncle ka, cousin will also ask you kitne marks mile. Next. And why is that? Because there are a lot of myths. They will say that if you have good marks, that means you're extremely brilliant, you're intelligent. If you succeed in exam, that means you have a success in life. Good marks means good job, and failure in exam means failure in life, which is not really true. It's not really true that all of us or all the people who have got good marks are successful in life. It's what do you do during that process of your academic life? What is it that you're learning? That's going to determine whether you're going to be happy in life or not. Your 10th marks or 12th marks or graduation marks, I'm not saying don't study. So this is not something that I'm propagating on your channel that you'll go home and say डॉक्टर ने बोला marks important नहीं है मैं पढ़ाई छोड़ने वाला हूँ and then I'll have everybody lining outside my door, right? No, I'm not saying don't study. I'm just saying don't focus on the marks. Study, enjoy the process. Focus on the effort that you're putting it into studying, but not in what the final outcome is, right? Next. It's just an exam. Exam is just testing some of your skills. It doesn't test who you are. It's just a stepping stone कि इसके बाद आगे अगला पढ़ा. अगर नहीं हुआ, there is a failure, you try again. Next. But it's important, right? When you talk about the time management, if you want to reduce your stress for your exam, it's very important that you plan yourself. Most of the students plan like this, right? 10 दिन है 10 चैप्टर है बहुत आराम से हो जाएगा I will do 1 chapter per day and by the time you finish all your planning 10 घंटे बच जाते हैं 10 chapter बाकी है and you have 1 hour for each chapter. So let's kind of anticipate that this thing happens to us and avoid it. Prepare yourselves better for it. Next. And why is it that we need to take care of the fear that comes with exams and fear that comes with marks? Because memory or whatever you study is simple equation. Memory is equal to concentration upon fear. So memory and fear have an inverse relationship. If you're extremely scared, if you're extremely nervous, or extremely anxious, whatever you study is not going to get registered in your head. On the other hand, if you are concentrating and the fear is less, the memory will be better. Next. How do we make sure that whatever you're studying today is put in a space where you can access it even 1 month later? Because you can't remember, like when you're doing your professional courses, you can't finish everything one day before the exam. You may have studied a concept maybe a month ago. You must have listened to the teacher teaching a topic 2 months ago. How do we make sure कि ये long term memory में जाता है and when you need to access it, it comes out from your RAM? Next. An important aspect of shifting things from your short term to long term memory is once you read is to revise, revise and revise. So when you make your timetable as part of your time management skill, make sure that a majority of your time is spent in revising what you have studied. It's very simple, right? Suppose you're walking, many of the students go for treks and you're going for a trek and there's a path कभी कोई नहीं चला है बहुत सारा घास है and you keep on walking, people keep on going on that way again and again, almost a path is formed, isn't it? In the same way, when you read the same concept again and again, it gets into your permanent memory. Next. So be confident. क्या होगा worse if you do not succeed or do well in the exam? Next. Don't think that what other people will think about you or they will think about your exam. Next. Exams are just practice matches and they do not define life. Next, an exam itself does not test all your talents. Next, what we need to do is avoid this kind of a situation on the night before the exam. That's part of healthy living. When you reduce your stress before your exam by being a little bit more prepared by using the skills that we spoke about. Next, and this is most of us after our exams, isn't it? Khatam ho gaya. Next, another aspect which causes stress is relationships. Next, and our relationships most importantly start from our family, right? Next, but this is what our family has come up to now, right? This is what most of us are doing. We're sitting together, but we're each one on a gadget. Mama is on her WhatsApp groups, dad is on his emails, you are busy on chatting with your friends, and nobody has time for each other. Next, can we bring about this change in our homes from today? Can we decide as a group that I'm going to spend one meal a day? It could be breakfast, it could be dinner, it could be lunch, it could be chai pe charcha. One meal that we are going to sit together as a family. We're not going to discuss about problems and marks and COVID situation or the third wave and how dunya mein koi sun nahi raha hai. We're not going to discuss about vaccines, but we're just going to joke around. We're going to talk about funny things. Grandparents can share stories about the things that happened in their life. Parents can share stories about the atrocities that they did when they were blunders that they committed when they were students, and try to develop a bond. Recently, I heard a song by the singer known as Callum Scott, where he sings about the song "No Matter What," and no matter what happens into you in life, his mom and dad love him, and that's what you should realize, that we should really invest on this relationship, which is a family, because they are going to be your safety net. No matter what, that safety net is going to be there. And just like fishermen, when they go fishing, when they fish a lot, sometimes their nets undergo some tears. And they spend a lot of time repairing these tears in their fishing nets. In the same way, by spending or investing time with your family, you can repair that relationship and they will act as your safety net. Next, a very, very important aspect of a student life is a relationship with their friends or with their significant, boyfriend, girlfriend. It's very important. This is the time that you're indulging in these relationships. And how do we know that we are in healthy relationships? Next, try to be with people who are empathetic towards you, who understand you, who understand your feelings, whom you can trust. Extremely important. It's not that you tell something to one friend, wo jaake kisi aur ko bolega, and the whole world comes to know your problem. So have, har ek friend kamina hota hai is a very common song played, I think, because of the network ads. But every friend need not be kamina. You can have one or two really good and trustworthy friends. You also have to be compassionate towards your friends and get compassionate friends back. Friends who validate your feelings, who may say that I don't agree with you, but I understand what you're feeling. So it's important to nurture these kind of relationships. Next, a very, very important relationship, and that's a relationship with yourself. Next, engage in positive self-talk. I don't know how many people have watched this movie called Jab We Met. So in that movie, I love this dialogue by Kareena Kapoor where she says, "मैं खुद की ही favorite हूँ." Right? I mean, what a positive statement to make. कि मैं खुद की ही favorite हूँ. Every day morning when you get up and you brush your teeth, can you engage in two positive self-talk statements? Say, I'm confident, I'm capable, I'm the best. That empowering words that you use, or positive language that you use for yourself, is going to help in building your mental health. Next, certain practices, positive practices that you can indulge in to develop your health is one is known as focusing on the now or mindfulness. Now, what do you mean by mindfulness? Mindfulness is experiencing the moment as it is. I'm having a conversation with you on the YouTube channel. I'm just going to focus on that. I'm not going to think about the patients I need to see tomorrow. I'm not going to think about the problems I faced yesterday. When I'm brushing my teeth, I'm going to focus only on brushing my teeth. I'm not going to do other things along with it. Right? That's important. Next, a very, very important or beautiful practice of mindfulness is this meditation known as loving kindness meditation. It's very freely accessible on the net. You can go and look it up. Next, just to stress or emphasize on the benefits of using meditation for your brain. So if you see the picture, there is a brain with so many colors, right? There's this orange, yellow, green. That's a brain before meditation. That's all the parts are active. There is no concentration. And 10 minutes post meditation, the brain scan was done and it shows how it is focused. The activity is focused. The same thing you can improve your concentration and focus by practicing these kind of meditations. Next, savoring. Another aspect which helps in building mental health is savoring or again enjoying the moment as it is. You're hanging out with your friends, let's say at Theobroma, and you've ordered the pastry. Instead of saying, "अरे कल मैंने जो खाया था वो ज़्यादा अच्छा था," या "11 cheesecake का cheesecake is better than Theobroma का cheesecake," can I just enjoy each mouthful that I am taking? You know, activate all my taste buds. Share a positive statement about this and say, "Wow, ये कितना बढ़िया है." Experience it, review it, appreciate it. That activates the good receptors in your brain. Another practice next of improving your brain health is a practice of gratitude. When you practice gratitude on a daily basis, what do? You focus on goodness. Most of us, all the time at the end of the day when we are going to bed, we think at the day about the day and we think, "अरे क्या क्या गलत हो गया था during the day." We're always focusing on what went wrong. Gratitude teaches us to shift that focus into goodness. And when we start practicing gratitude on a daily basis, as an attitude of gratitude. Next, how do we practice an attitude of gratitude? What we can do is two things. One, at the end of each day, if you have a practice of writing a journal, that's amazing. If not, you can start from today. Is list two things in the day with an explanation about it. That why were you grateful for these two things? Sometimes you will tell me कि पूरे दिन में कुछ भी अच्छा नहीं था. Fine. Look at the challenging situation and see what benefit you got from it or what was the learning you got from it. That is how we practice gratitude. Next. So when we go back to the entire talk that we had, we have to understand that health has three aspects. Physical, next please. Physical health, mental health and spiritual health. Your health needs to be maintained by good sleep habits, a balanced diet, regular exercise. You need to manage your online gaming and social media activity, and that's extremely important. There are a lot of benefits, but there are a lot of negative consequences if things are going out of hand. It's important to identify your stressors and modify them. Learn how do you modify your stressors? You learn to modify your stressors by learning to manage your time effectively. Do not focus on the outcome of the exams, but focus only on the efforts. Next, work on your relationships with your family. Invest in your relationship. You invest money in the bank or you save up money in the bank. In the same way, invest in your relationship because that's going to be a safety net. Connect with the right kind of friends. Have a great relationship with yourself. So focus on yourself. Improve your health by learning positive practices of mindfulness, savoring, and practicing an attitude of gratitude. Next. Thank you very much. I hope that each one of you can incorporate at least few things from this talk and we can indulge in healthy living.
Thanks a million, ma'am, for that enriching session. I'm sure everybody has so many takeaways. You've not just highlighted all the important parts, you've also suggested so many corrective measures. It's really underestimated as to how much mental health could affect people. And all you've managed to explain to us in a nutshell everything that we could possibly correct in our daily way of living. Maybe I'd start with changing my place of position and not confuse my brain by sitting on this bed. So that'll be the starters. Yes. So for our audience, we now have the floor open for any questions. Might anybody have one? All right. So, ma'am, I'm going to go ahead and ask you a question. Um,
Sure.
so, well, ma'am, there are days wherein you feel like you have this. So, what we call is, I'm feeling very low. I'm feeling under the weather, right? And it's very difficult. There's this fine line that you have when you're feeling under the weather and you're actually overwhelmed. How and when do you know it is a good time to visit a therapist? So,
Yeah, thank you, Beverly, for that question. So it's important, and it's very important for us to understand, that all of us, including me, will feel overwhelmed at some point of time. And especially, I do not like to talk about the COVID pandemic all the time. It's almost a year and a half that we are, in that situation. So it doesn't make sense to talk about it, but it is the elephant in the room, right? So with the pandemic, lives have changed. So we anyway are overwhelmed with a lot of things happening around us. Even prior to the pandemic, because we do a lot of things, we do tend to get overwhelmed. So it's okay to be overwhelmed. It's okay to be sad. So sadness is a positive emotion. It's okay to feel very, very angry. You know, that all these are normal positive emotions. What we need to do is acknowledge that yes, I'm angry today. Try to figure out what is the reason I'm angry, or I'm sad today. Can I figure out what identify? Try to go through like a detective. That what are the reasons that have led me to come to this situation, and see if these things can be reworked. But sometimes, if we are undergoing a stressful situation for a very long period of time, or sometimes even without reason, if you're vulnerable, you can have a decrease in certain chemicals in your brain. Now, these chemicals are important for mood, for thinking, for behavior. So, if these chemicals are low, then you're going to feel sad. You're going to have a lack of interest in things which interested you before. You will not, feel. You feel very hopeless. You feel very worthless. You will not feel as excited about things that excited you before. You have sleep and other issues. With sleep, with appetite. Sometimes you can have panic attacks. So if you are confused that is this a normal variant or is it something that needs help, look at the timeline. If it's happening for more than 2 weeks, it's something that needs to be addressed. Sometimes if you're not sure, it's better to go and get it checked. I always give this analogy in a lot of my talks that if you have a chest pain, you may have just eaten a lot and have gas. But if the chest pain persists, you will still go and get it checked out because you're not sure whether it's a heart attack or it's gas. If it's gas, very good. If it's not, it needs to be addressed. You need to get an ECG, get your heart corrected. So if you're not sure that this ache I'm feeling in my head, the sadness I'm feeling in my head, is it normal or is it something that needs to be addressed? Reach out to a mental health professional. Every time you go to a mental health professional, they are not there to just write you a whole list of medications. They're going to evaluate. If you don't need medications, if you don't need therapy, they're going to tell you that it's fine. Maybe we'll work through some of the triggers in your life together. And we say, okay, go ahead. But if something needs help, we will address that.
Again, ma'am, a very comprehensive answer. This is something that I've been meaning to ask so many people, but I could never, get myself to. So this was a perfect opportunity. Thank you so much, ma'am. Well, yes. Would there be any more questions from our audiences? All right. Like I said, ma'am had a Yes, absolutely. So, ma'am had a very comprehensive talk. So, yes, we have all come to the end of our session with Dr. Sheryl, ma'am. We immensely thank you for helping us with your time, considering all that you must be having on your plate at the moment. Uh, Now is also the time where I extend a big thank you to our management for providing us with this platform, for helping us with an opportunity. Majorly, thank you so much to our principal, Dr. Rennie Francis, ma'am. And a big, big, big thank you to our resource person, Dr. Sheryl, ma'am, for being ever so sweet and so kind about the whole session. Thank you. It was really, really sweet of you, ma'am.
It is indeed my
Uh,
pleasure. It's really nice to interact with students.
That's very kind, ma'am. Thank you. And most of all, thank you everybody for being very supportive of the session and helping us have more of these. So, yes, I hope everybody could take so much from this session and absolutely enjoyed it. Um, yes, so that brings us to the end of it. We hope you have a lovely evening ahead. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
everybody.
everyone. Stay safe. God bless. Bye.
God bless. Bye, ma'am. Thank you.